Okay, so here we go with quiz number 7. So here's the system of equations we're supposed to solve. 3 equations with 3 letters. Let me go to a fresh screen. So there it is. Now, of course, you could do this with your graphing calculator, but on exam number 4, you must do a 3x3. This is a 3 equations, 3 letters, 3x3 by hand. It'll be on part 1 when you have no calculator at all. Then there's also going to be some of these on part 2 where you have your graphing calculator and you do them that way also. But you will have to do one by hand. So let me show you how you do one of these things by hand right now. So how are we going to do it? Well, basically, step 1, get rid of, well, let's just say cancel out. Get rid of. Cancel out one letter from all equations. So pick one letter. It doesn't matter what letter. Get rid of it from all equations. What I think could be really easy to do, wait a minute, would it? Oh, whatever. Let's just use x. So I'm just going to take x, and I'm going to get rid of this first off. So how am I going to get rid of that? Multiply this equation all the way through by -2. So that top equation will become minus 2x plus 4y. So I'm making this -2 go boom, 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 and boom, even over there. What's that? Minus 60. Be really careful. Don't drop a sign or anything. Is minus 30. And then I'm going to bring the second equation down right here. No changes to the second equation. Now, do you see my plan? Why am I doing this? Because when I add these equations, the x's will cancel. So my plan is I'm going to get rid of x in this case from all 3 equations. How I'm getting rid of x from the first 2 by making you get rid of a letter by making them opposites. Same number, one positive, one negative. So negative 2x and positive 2x. By multiplying that top equation, they're gone. So what do we get? 5y minus, this is a minus 6 plus 1, so that's minus 5z is minus 25. So there's an equation which has no x, right? I canceled x out of it. There's my first new equation. Now, so I got rid of x from this equation, didn't I? By making this minus 2x. Now, I'm going to go back and get rid of x from this guy. How am I going to get rid of that minus 3x? I'm going to multiply by plus 3, the top equation. So now, the top equation becomes, so you can reuse the top equation a different way now. Becomes 3x. Whoops, let me get this straight here. Minus 6y plus 9z is 45. Do you see what I'm doing there? I just multiplied that 3 to here, 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 and here. Now bring down the bottom equation. It'll be minus 3x plus 2y minus 2z minus 13. Add those up. These x's cancel. Minus 4y plus 7z is 32. There's my second equation that has no x. See, I've got an equation with just y and z and another equation with y and z because I knocked x out of all the equations, right? I made it the opposite of 2x, made it negative 2x right here. And I made it the opposite of minus 3x, made it plus 3x right there. Added them up and canceled out x from all the equations. Now, step 2 is solve 2 equations with 2 letters. So now you get 2 equations with 2 letters. So, bring this over here. I've got 5y minus 5z is minus 25. Actually, you know what? I can do something nice with that equation, couldn't I? Yeah, look. 5 divides through all of that, right? So let's do that. Let's just clean that thing up right now. Divide by 5, divide by 5, divide by 5. What do you get? Y minus z is minus 5. And then bring up the second equation here. Minus 4y plus 7z is 32. Okay, now we have 2 equations with 2 letters. Call that a 2 by 2. So now, let's do the same thing. We got to get something to cancel, so what am I going to do? I'm going to make these fronts opposites again. I'm going to multiply through by plus 4 there, there, and there. So what does the top equation become? 4y minus 4z. And 4 times negative 5? Negative 20. The bottom equation hasn't changed. I'll just keep it purple if that's helpful to you. Minus 4y plus 7z is 32. Add them up. So see how these y's cancel? We made that on purpose, right? We made the y's opposites. And now what are the x's? Minus 4z plus 3z is plus 7z is 3z. These guys, 32 minus 20 is 12. Last step to solve for z, divide by 3. Z is 4. So we got z, we got one letter. Now, how do you go back and get the others? Well, you've got z, so just grab one of the other equations that only have y and z. Doesn't matter which one. This one looks the easiest. So over here, so this is still number 1 continued. So I've got z equals 4. And I've got that other equation, y minus z, this one right here. Y minus z is negative 5. Z is negative 5, is that right? Yeah. And so then plug that in right there. And so what do you get? Y minus 4 is negative 5. How do you solve for y? Add the 4. Y is negative 1. So now we got y, we got z. Now go back to, I'll just grab the original first one here. What is it? X minus 2y plus 3z. X minus 2y plus 3z is 15. And I'm going to plug in z as 4 right there. And y is negative 1 right there. And what are we going to get? X minus 2 times negative 1 plus 3 times 4 is 15. X plus 2 plus 12 is 15. X plus 14 is 15. X is 1. So the answer is 1, negative 1, 4. That's X, Y, Z. There we go. Okay, so here's number 2. The perimeter of a rectangular floor is 40 feet. The length is 3 times the width. Let me go to a fresh screen here. Perimeter. What's the perimeter? If you have a rectangle, you know, that has width, width, length, length. Perimeter is 2 length plus 2 width, right? Perimeter means all the way around the outer edge. So width, length, width, length. That's perimeter. 2 widths and 2 lengths added up. And it says the perimeter is 40. So the perimeter is 40. So 40 is 2L plus 2W. What's the other equation? Perimeter is 40. The length is 3 times the width. So length is 3 times the width. The length is 3 times width. L equals 3W. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's not too bad then. So grab this and plug it in right there for L, huh? So that's going to become, bring this equation down. It's going to become 40 is 2 times L. And what's L? 3W. Well, it's 2W, right? So the 2W here, the 40 there, the 2L is 2 times 3W because we know L is 3W. So now what do we get? 40 is 6w plus 2w. 40 is 8w. How do we solve for w? Divide by 8. Boom. So width is 5. So we get the width of 5. How do we get the length now? Bring it up here. Length, remember, is 3w. And what's w? 5. Length is 15. So width is 5, length is 15. Okay, so question number 3. Use the following matrices to compute CA minus CB. Well, this is all by graphing calculator. All by graphing calculator. So you just need to put matrix C into your calculator. So, we'll start with A. Put in A. So you have to hit, the buttons on your calculator, which would be, you got to hit second on the TI calculator. So this is for the TI, the Texas Instruments graphing calculator that we get free at Fresno City College library for renting. You got to put in matrix A, which means hit second matrix. Go across to the edit menu and hit enter, and then put in the size. Remember the size of this matrix? It's 2 by 3, because remember you go down first and then across. You put in 2 by 3, and then you enter the numbers, and then you hit second quit. Once you entered matrix A, you got to quit. And then put in B, put in C, same steps, basically. For matrix B and matrix C, you got to put those in. And except matrix C is a 3 by 2, right? Because it's down 3 over 2 across on that. Whoops. Oops, I lost my screen there. Where am I? Okay. There we go. Sorry about that. All right. So now, whoops, no, I'm still not in the right spot. There we go. So there we go. Now, once those are put in, once you put those matrices in there, then the way to get the answer is you go second matrix, and then you stay on the names menu, which you're already on, and you go over, you go down to matrix C and hit enter, and then it'll put on the main screen C. So I'm trying to do the CA minus CB thing. And then you go times, so you're going to do C times on the main screen. And then you do second matrix again on names. And this time you're right on A. You're already on A. You don't have to go down. Hit enter. And it'll put A on the main screen. And then you go minus for subtraction. And then you just keep going. You can do C and B and hit enter, and you'll get your answer. So that's how you do those. So problem number 4 here is just like number 3. It's by graphing calculator. By graphing calc. So call this matrix A. Call this matrix B. So step 1, put in matrix A, and then quit. Second quit. And step B, put in B and quit. And then call them forth to multiply them. Go to the go to the names menu, second matrix names, and call forth A times B. Is that too vague? You know, you go into second matrix names A, enter. It'll put A on the main screen. Then you go times, and then you call forth B, and you hit enter. And it'll multiply them for you and give you the answer. So question number 5, find the inverse. Again, this is by graphing calculator. Call it matrix A. So go second matrix, go over to edit, hit enter, and it's a 2 by 2, matrix is a 2 by 2. Put in A, put in the numbers, you know, the numbers for A, and go second quit. So you've got it on, so you've got it entered, and you've quit that, and then, so that's all step number 1, and then step number 2, go second matrix, you're on the names menu for A, hit enter, that calls A to the main screen, and then third step, just hit the X inverse key. So it'll go inverse on the main screen, hit enter, and it'll find the inverse for you automatically. Okay, now question number 6, this inverse matrix they're giving us over here, this is the inverse of this matrix. So basically, here's the trick. I know this is probably going to seem weird. Let me show you by way of a normal equation. If you take something like 2x equals 5, how do you solve for x in that equation? Well, of course, you're going to tell me you divide by 2, and that's right, you do divide by 2. But let's think about it another way. You do divide by 2, of course that's true. But think about what 2 really is. 2 is the inverse. I'm sorry, a half. Instead of dividing by 2, think about it as multiplying by a half on both sides. That's the same as dividing by 2. That would work just as well, wouldn't it? That would get rid of the 2, and you'd have x alone, and the answer would be 5 halves, right? So think about what you just did there. I know you'd say, well, you just divided by 2. Yeah, but another way to think of it is you multiplied by the inverse. A half is the inverse of 2. So when you multiplied both sides by the inverse of 2, you got rid of the 2, and that got x alone. Well, that's what we're going to do here. We're going to take this matrix, his inverse, and if we multiply the left side here and the left side here by the inverse, it'll cancel out the numbers and just give you x, y, and z. Just like this cancels out the half and the 2 and just gives you x, you can do the whole thing with a matrix to cancel out all the numbers and just give you x, y, and z by doing the inverse on both sides, just like we did the half, which is the inverse of what was next to x, the inverse of the 2. We do the inverse of these numbers next to x, y, and z on both sides, right? Like the half on both sides. So here's the inverse. If we just do that on both sides, the left side will become x, y, z automatically. The right side will be our answer. So how do we do that? You put, step 1, you put the inverse into the calculator. Step 1, right? You know how to put a matrix into the calculator. You hit second matrix, go over to the edit menu, hit enter, put in the numbers, and hit second quit. Oh, it's a 3 by 3. I should have said you put in the size. This is a 3 by 3. Hit second quit. So you put this matrix in. That's the one you're putting in. Second step, now that you have that in there, oh, now you've got to put in the 116, the right side, into B. So hit second matrix, go over to edit, and go down to B and hit enter. We're going to put this in, we're going to call this matrix B on the right side here. That'll be matrix B. So A is the left side. We'll have A as being this, and this will be B. You can call it whatever you want. It's just a name. Go down to B, hit enter. Put in, oh, you got to give the name, the size. I'm sorry, the size. The size is a 3 by 1. Remember, because you go down first. This is a 3 by 1 matrix. And you want to put in 1, 1, 6, and then quit. Second, quit. So far what have we done? We've put in the A inverse and quit. We've put in the B, we called it B, and quit. And now step 3, go second, matrix, names, name matrix A, whoops, matrix A, which is really A inverse, but we're just calling it A. It's just a name. You can call it Joe. We just took these numbers and we put them in the slot called A and hit enter, and it'll put A on the main screen. And then go times, and then do the same thing. Second, matrix, names down, you go down to B and hit enter, and it'll put, there's the times, it'll put B on the main screen and hit enter. And what it'll do is it'll give you the answers. Hit enter, and it'll multiply A times B, which means this inverse times this right side, right? That's like the half inverse times the 5 on the right side, which is exactly what we do to solve this simple equation. It's exactly how you solve a big old matrix equation. You just take the inverse right there times the right side. We took the inverse times the right side, the A times the B. Hit enter. Now, one more thing I forgot. So when you get your answer, you've got to hit, when you get your answer, I'm typing right too fast here. When you get your answer, I'll go slow, you've got to hit the math button, and then enter, enter. And what that does is it changes everything to fractions. And then you'll get the answer. What is it? 10 sevenths minus 8 sevenths, 5 sevenths? Because you got to change, because you'll have decimals at first. So the decimal answer, that change, this math, when you hit math and the first thing is changed to fraction. And so you just hit enter. Yeah, that's what I want to do, and enter again. And it changes the answer to that fraction, that matrix as a fraction. Okay, so question number 7 here. First off, they want me to graph these two things. Well, this is a line, and this one is like an ellipse, or it's actually a circle. But let me show you how easy, since they're giving me multiple choice, look at how easy this is. This is a line, right? Y equals 3x plus 5. You know how to graph that line. You start at up 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And what does this slope do? This slope is 3 over 1. It's rise over run, isn't it? Whoops, I didn't give enough room. Let me try that again. So my graph starts at up 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right there. And you go up, from there you go up 3 over 1, right up 1, 2, 3 over 1. So the line must be like, which one of those graphs has the blue line that's going up and hits up high in the middle? Only C. It's got to be C. See this line here? This is the same line. They're just showing another part of the line. It can't be that line going down. It can't be this line going up that hits way down low down here. It can't be this line going down, so it's got to be C. And the other equation is a circle, and that is the circle right there. Okay, let's go on and solve them now. So now y equals 3x plus 5. Number 7 here. So number 7, y equals 3x plus 5, and the other equation, x squared plus y squared equals 5. Okay, so how are we going to solve this? I'm going to take this guy and plug it right in there. So I get then x squared plus 3x plus 5 squared equals 5. So let's multiply that out. 3x plus 5, 3x plus 5, and FOIL, 9x squared plus 15x plus 15x plus 25 is 5. X squared and 9x squared is 10x squared. 15x and 15x is 30x. Okay, so now what do we do when we have an x squared? When you have an x squared equation with an equal sign, remember the first step? Get a 0. And then step 2, try to factor if you want to factor. So you've got to get a 0. So I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides. That'll get a 0 over here. 10x squared plus 30x plus 20. And now, notice you can simplify that one. Okay, so let's solve this. Okay, so let's divide through by 10. See how 10 goes into all of them? Totally convenient. Then we have x squared plus 3x plus 2 equals 0. So now, get a 0, and we simplified. Now we try to factor, bring it up here. How do we factor x squared plus 3x plus 2 equals 0? What two numbers multiply? Right, we're going to have 2 parentheses, x's in the front. What multiplies to be 2? Adds to be 3. That's easy, 1 and 2. Right, they multiply to be 2, they add to be 3. So then you know the answers are -1 and -2, because each one equals 0. Right, am I going too fast? Because you set the first one equal to 0 or the second one equals 0, because two things multiply to be 0. Either one could be 0. Move the 1 over, move the 2 over. So -1, -2 are the two answers for x. Now we have to get the y's to go with each of those. Let's go to a fresh screen. So we have x equals -1, and over here x equals -2. We're going to plug in now to find the y's. First equation would be great. Y is already alone. So that's y equals 3x plus 5. Y equals 3x plus 5. So now plug in the -1. Whoops. Y equals 3 times -1 plus 5. That's 2. Over here, plug in the -2. 3 times -2 plus 5, that's -1. So the answers are -1, 2, xy, or -2, -1, xy. Those are our two answers. Okay, the sequence is defined recursively. A1 is -2, so there's -2. And AN is n minus A sub n minus 1. What does that mean? A sub n minus 1, remember, is always that's not very well written, is the previous term. So in other words, A sub 2, let me write the formula. A sub n is n minus A sub n minus 1. So A sub 2, let n be 2, is 2 minus A sub 2 minus 1. So that's 2 minus A sub 1. What's A sub 1? -2. 2 minus -2 is 2 plus 2 is 4. So A sub 2 is 4. Let's keep going. What's A sub 3? Well, it means plug in a 3 for n, right? Because this is n. 3 is right there. So plug in 3 for n. So that's 3 minus A sub 2. 3 minus, what's A sub 2? 4. See the previous, see how that back part is always the previous term? 4, 3 minus 4, -1. -1. And then A sub 4, plugging in a 4 right there for n, is 4 minus A sub 4 minus 1, which is 4 minus A sub 3. 4 minus the previous term, A sub 3, negative 1 minus a minus plus 1, that's 5. And finally, a sub 5, plugging in for n 5, 5 minus a sub 5 minus 1, 5 minus a sub 4, the previous term, 5 minus 5, 0. And there we go.